Final speaker for today. For today's lecture schedule is board certified in anti-aging and regenerative medicine. He's a naturopathic doctor and a PhD with a PhD degree from the toxicology program at Utah State University in immunology and biology. He also holds a master's degree in cardiac rehabilitation and wellness. He has formulated hundreds of products, was a bronze medalist in the 2003 Utah Winter Games, and is a best-selling author. This topic today is structured silver kills bacteria, viruses, and yeast. Please welcome Dr. Gordon Pedersen.
Oh, thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I know I'm the last speaker, so if I go real fast, you guys won't mind, right? Anything I want, I like that. Now, with that in mind, I've got an advancing slide advancer. Just do it here. This will be good then. I'm going to do a little bit of shocking demonstration here with some facts. There are more bacteria in your mouth than there are people in the world. It gets better. It gets better. Mobile phones have 18 times more bacteria on them than a toilet seat. Chances are it's yours, but what if it isn't? Researchers found 1,458 new species of bacteria in belly buttons. That's just in the last 10 years. Now, I don't know if people enjoy this one as much as my daughter does, but after 2 weeks of wearing a pair of pants, you will have grown 1,000 strong new colonies of bacteria on the front, 1,500 on the back, and 10,000 in the crotch. You can see I'm building a case for silver here, can't you? You can think, well, maybe, what am I going to do with that? Well, silver in the laundry, silver is a spray, silver can be used in a lot of different ways. The average office desk has 400 times more bacteria than a toilet. A dollar bill has 3,000 types of bacteria on it. And they said that 90% have cocaine on the dollar bills. I like this one. When two people kiss, they exchange between 10 million and 1 billion bacteria. Sneezing, don't you love this? Sneezing spreads bacteria and viruses an average of 15 feet around the person who sneezes. Computer keyboards can carry more than 200 times as many bacteria as a toilet seat. And how long do germs live outside the body? In other words, I went to the National Health Services and I found that influenza lives in open air after one sneezes for 1 hour. On a tissue, it can survive 15 minutes. MRSA can survive 2 days in the open air. Cold viruses, several hours, and the reason why is there's several different kinds of colds out there. And croup, you know that cough that everybody goes, oh, I'm on antibiotics, I'm okay, I'm not contagious anymore, and I cough like this. Well, they found that 4 to 10 hours it's still active in open air. Salmonella and E. coli can survive 1 to 4 hours, while the herpes virus is alive and well for 4 hours out in open air. Now, I intended to freak you out just a little bit, but because you're doctors, you're going, there's got to be a solution. There's got to be hope. Yes, there's silver. It is purified to 99.99% pure, and it is structured with water that is a structured water, meaning subjected to steam. In other words, this water begins as steam. It is as concentrated. It is vortexed. It is actually subjected to a deionization and dissolved solids are removed. So that's why structuring water is a much more pure place to start. Then 10,500 volts of electromagnetic pulsing energy distributes 1 molecule of silver at a time into the water, making it an energized alkaline structured silver with this type of chemical structure. What that is 4 water molecules with 4 silver molecules permanently attached into a crystalline structure. In the last few years, silver is emerging as the most patented item, the last 2 years, in places like needles, the silver needles, because they're bacteria-free and prevent bacteria, are starting to become patented. Surgical equipment. So silver is being used in many places, but look at these journals. These are the journals just lately that have published on the benefits of silver. JAMA, New England Journal of Medicine, Bulletin of the World Health Organization, Nature, International Journal of Nanomedicine, Journals of Virology, many, many, many more. These are just in the last couple of years. So what is the power behind silver? It destroys foreign invaders, bacteria, viruses, yeast. Structured silver is the strongest and fastest of silver because of its alkalinity. It can cross membranes faster because it's alkaline. pH that is acidic, which means all other silvers are acidic, they have a response from the cells of the body, and I'm talking about the bacteria cells in the body, becoming resistant to that particular type of acidic silver. So they close off, and if you can't get into a membrane, you're not going to kill it. For that reason, I have found by looking in a microscope, if you can't kill a bacteria within 2 minutes, if you haven't penetrated that cellular membrane within 2 minutes, like Star Trek, up comes the shields, up comes the force fields, up comes a change, and the bacteria can resist the penetration of that silver. So the fastest silver does truly matter. And in this case, structured silver kills within 2 minutes, documented by myself, documented by the Townsend letters and independent research, and other silvers take much longer because they're acids. It can be used with antibiotics, and this is the big reason that I'm here today. I did a research study, and I published it in Current Science Journal. And what was found was that you could take liquid silver with your antibiotics, and you would enhance the antibiotics killing ability by 10 to 100 fold. And I thought that was really remarkable because at the same time, you could actually reverse the resistance of the cells in the body because silver activates and mobilizes stem cells, actually healing those cells of the body. Well, the most magnificent part of this, and I'll cover it in a few minutes here, is that Harvard just released a study 2 weeks ago, almost word for word to my study of 7 years ago, which is that if you'll take liquid silver with your antibiotics, you're going to increase their activity. You ready for this one? 10 to 1,000 fold. So they identified that, in fact, we had come up with 10 to 100 fold. Theirs, in their study, actually stuck their neck out to say an antibiotic being 1,000 times stronger, and documenting again that in fact the resistance, the bacterial resistance, is being remitted at the same time, which is meaning antibiotic resistance. So what that means is, you know what, I'll wait just a minute when I get to the slides, but I'm excited about this because you know what? This is the bridge between allopathic and traditional medicines and the naturopathic world. Why? Because now, thanks to Harvard validating the studies that we've been publishing for the last 7 years, we can take silver with antibiotics and should do so every time. Then, when people are done with their 10 to 14 day regimen of antibiotics, what are they going to do? They're going to quit taking the antibiotics, but say, I now know that protection lies in an alkaline, everyday silver. And we can now have a crossover where we both can see benefits, and I think that will work. The power of silver is used internally and topically. Daily we're starting to see new scientific research discoveries. It works faster and better with antioxidants, for instance, meaning silver kills the pathogen. The antibiotic can help clean out the destroyed cells so there's not such an ongoing healing crisis. And because it's water soluble, the silver, it does not penetrate the membranes of probiotic bacteria, which have a self-secreted milky fat layer around themselves, so we don't have that problem. And by the way, doctors, if you want proof of this, take a 4 times normal dose of the alkaline silver and find that you do not create diarrhea, documenting that, in fact, normal bowel movements mean you didn't kill the good bacteria. Papers are one thing, demonstration is another. So with those things in mind, there's a number of different things that I want to show you. One is this: structured silver molecules during the manufacturing process. Now, first of all, you're going to see a rod of pure silver, and it's not much bigger around than a pencil lead. Then you can see that all the little floating pieces or molecular structures of silver that are being dispersed into the water. But look at the wave action. So look down at the very bottom, and it is absolutely a wave, because every 10,000th of a second, a wave or pulse of electromagnetic energy at 10,500 volts is being sent through that electric rod, and it passes from the one rod that's positively charged to the negative charged rod, producing waves. Waves of individual molecular structured particles. Let's take a look up close at that. This, for the first time, is actual visual evidence of the waves of structuring water with silver, and you can see the individual particles being literally wave-like dispensed in there. So why is silver in a structured form different? Well, structuring and alkalinity has a greater impact on the cell walls and the pathogens, causing them to die at a greater rate. What that means is better and faster killing. Alkaline silver penetrates the bacterial membranes to kill faster and more completely. It works well with antibiotics. Silver destroys the pathogens by interfering with replication or causing cell wall damage. So knowing that, when bacteria begin to divide, they have to elongate and stretch out. Silver causes the inner lining of the membrane to become so thin in a defensive posture that when the cell elongates, it becomes long enough that the membrane can no longer stay patent, or in other words, it pops. They call it apoptosis. Silver works, and here's a picture. I do have video of this, but it's been so difficult to run. I'll have you see it on my website. But here's a picture of the bacteria. These are normal bacteria. And you can see that some of them are beginning to divide by having a line down the middle. When they're exposed to liquid silver for 1 minute, this is the result. The membranes rupture. The dissolving of the central orientation of the bacteria takes place. Yeast dies. Viruses become interfered with. And antioxidants help gather up the cellular damage for faster excretion of the germs and inflammation. Here's some pictures of that. This is an apple, one apple. I sliced it in half. I took liquid silver and 1 pump spray on one half, as you can see illustrated with the silver, and the side with no silver. In 5 days, the side with no silver was subjected to bacterial and fungal contamination, which rotted it quicker. You know, the inner linings of the arteries and brain tissues are subject to similar problems over time. This is a block of cheese. I cut it in half. I sprayed 1 half with silver, 1 half without. The fungus that grew quicker, faster, and more was the side without silver. So I took it to a human. This is a toe. A toenail fungus, you can see, is listed where it says fungus. And after application, it gets rid of the cause of the foot odor if the liquid silver can penetrate down deeply enough to come in contact with the germ for 2 minutes. It could kill it. So let's talk about alkaline silver liquid. It looks just like water. It's clear, it's colorless. It's used orally and topically. It doesn't have a smell, and it kills the cause of smells. In fact, a pump or two of a liquid silver on a tennis shoe will render it odor-free within 1 minute. It's virtually tasteless. It's purified silver and structured water. No preservatives, additives, or artificial ingredients. Maybe, by definition, it's the most all-natural organic substance of all nutritional supplements. pH of 7.5. So it works with the immune system. It does not create barricades or structures that resist the influence because of an acidic-natured silver. Antibiotics and silver. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. We've already seen a number of bacterial infections that no longer respond to any drugs we have. Does that scare you? That should scare you. That should scare you more than you know. That should scare you more than... more than any scary movie I can imagine. In the U.S. alone, antibiotic-resistant infections are associated with 23,000 deaths and 2 million illnesses every year. Now, those are estimates from the U.S. government, but think about 2 million illnesses every year because they took an antibiotic and it became resistant, or they trained themselves to not be able to fight this. In the synergistic tests, the antibiotic was made 10 to 100 times more effective at killing bacteria because, quote, the silver killed the residual bacteria that the antibiotic couldn't. This is my publication in Current Science, 2006. When you recognize that silver can kill over 1,498 bacteria strains, and your best broad-spectrum antibiotic kills 23, why do they dare call it a broad-spectrum antibiotic? 23 out of over 1,400 is not broad-spectrum. So you can see that if you take an antibiotic, you can put yourself at significant risk, but when you take it with silver, you can see that even though the silver can work on all those different bacteria, it can render the antibiotic ability to be 100 times stronger in my research. Now we go to Harvard that says 1,000 times stronger, published in this journal, Science and Translational Medicine. Harvard studied it, validated by Boston College. A small amount of silver made E. coli bacteria between 10 and 1,000 times more sensitive to 3 commonly used antibiotics. So what you're dealing with here is, if you're pre-treating or taking silver every day and then have to take an antibiotic, you've basically set the groundwork so that these 3 antibiotics, gentamicin, ofloxacin, and ampicillin, will work 1,000 times better at max, but at least 10 times. It's proved useful against stubborn infections that usually require repeated rounds of antibiotic treatments and visits to the clinic. So when you get these patients, and MDs have given antibiotics, it's always the naturopaths that get them next. You've got to help this rash. You've got to help this infection. It's almost always a dormant bacteria with a very thick outer membrane, or it's agglomerated together, or it's a microbial slime layer called a biofilm that has very difficult times to be entered into. The silver or antibiotic has a difficult time penetrating. This is a quote from the Harvard study. In addition to that, the results suggest that silver could be incredibly valuable as an adjunct to existing antibiotic treatments. There you have it. I have a study. Harvard has a study. Boston University has agreed this is the way to go. Think about this. Can we actually, as naturopaths, many with the right to prescribe antibiotics begin to responsibly use them with antibiotics to reverse that problem of resistance? Yeah, we can. So every time somebody takes an antibiotic out of your mouth, if you so agree with this research, should come the words, are you taking silver with it? Because we already say, are you following up with 2 months of probiotics? Well, the answer is you've got another additional tool. Silver, antibiotics, and probiotics are now synonymous. If we start the world to believe in probiotics and silver whenever antibiotics happen, maybe we'll cut the use of antibiotics in half. Maybe even more than that. According to this study at Harvard, silver helped antibiotics fight a previously impervious strain of E. coli sensitive to the antibiotic tetracycline. In other words, the silver set the groundwork for tetracycline to kill something that was not being killed by tetracycline previously. Then they allowed vancomycin to save the lives of 90% of mice with life-threatening cases of peritonitis. Without silver, the vancomycin, only 10% of the mice survived. This is absolutely Nobel Prize-winning stuff. This will change the world's lives. This will change the way we use antibiotics. This will be taken by naturopaths first to the world, I believe. Now we have Harvard and Boston and my studies and others that are starting to see that in fact we can use antibiotics wisely and in their use cause their actual disuse at the same time. Now, over 50,000 people died from taking non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs last year. That's a number that's staggering to me, to be taking something for 7 days because you've got a sore ankle and end up with a bleeding belly and die from it. Well, to put this into perspective, aspirin, acetaminophen, and ibuprofen cause that many deaths. Only one person had an adverse reaction to silver last year, and it was cosmetic from homemade silver. And according to the Health Canada research that was just published 2 months ago, there's only been 30 cases of argyria in the past 30 years in North America. So when somebody says you've got to worry about argyria, this will turn you blue. Before you go out and invest in Avatar, you are not going to be turning blue. You know that, number one, the structure of silver will not turn you blue. It's the old forms of silver in their ionic form that could do so because they fell out of solution. Now, with that in mind, every single case in the past 30 years has been from a homemade silver. So naturopathic doctors should be saying, what silver are you using that's made from GMP facilities? Which facility is giving you high quality silver of the same number every single time that has a lot and a batch on it? Why? This is not much different than prohibition, where alcohol that was made out back by somebody in the woods had somebody go blind because of poor quality control. While their solution was to put all of the alcohol manufacture in the hands of certified GMP type facilities. Same thing here, guys. I want this to be known. I stood as a witness at Health Canada's trial on silver, and it was reversed based on that testimony that 30 people in 30 years does not constitute an epidemic of blue men. And the blue man, by law now, has been taken off Health Canada's warning that says this product may turn you blue. And they're seriously considering, based on that trial, to reverse their suggestion and actually recommend you buy silver from a place who has a reputable GMP facility. I hope that common sense comes through to you, and facts, more than emotion, tend to go, you know what, I dare to use this silver now. Dare isn't the case. This is a proven product. In 2013, a bacteria was found in New Zealand that is resistant to every single antibiotic known. And according to the medical journal Nature, the average American child has been given 10 to 20 courses of antibiotics by the time he or she reaches adulthood. Do you believe that? Have you seen worse? Yes, and it comes to you in the form of autoimmune diseases, doesn't it? Because we destroy the immune system, we destroy the digestive tract. It is estimated that half the antibiotic prescriptions may be unnecessary. I predict 1 in 10 of those antibiotics are necessary if we'll employ silver probiotics. Silver before and during antibiotic use, and probiotics after, so that we do have a way to talk to medical doctors in their own language, which is, oh, we don't use antibiotics at all. That comes off as condescending. I'm an MD, I am a PhD, and I'm a naturopath. I know what they say. They won't listen to us when we say, oh, we don't use it at all. What if we could say, when there is an antibiotic used, it should be used in combination with silver, and especially supported by probiotics after. We will change, I believe, by at least 100-fold the amount of antibiotic prescriptions given. Is that a good thing? Is that a terrific contribution? I believe it is at the heart and mission of our system. Now I'm going to get to the rest of the story, Paul Harvey style. Most of our antibiotics, however, are used on farms. Look at these numbers. Of the approximately 100,000 to 200,000 tons of antibiotics made each year, 80% are used on animals, which find their way into McDonald's hamburgers, the steak you buy, the chicken you eat. Tyson Foods and McDonald's are now trying at high petition rates to stop using antibiotics in chicken and beef. I know, I've been to Tyson Labs. I've taken gallons of silver. They've noticed that it works. Are we making inroads? Not quite, but we've planted a seed. Get this, scientists are predicting on this graph that they say the deaths from antibiotic resistance caused by the farm, caused by the beef and the chicken on the farm that get antibiotics injected into them, the antibiotic resistance will exceed deaths from cancer by the year 2050. In not too many years, 34 years, they predict you will see more deaths because you got a scratch, a cut, a sneeze, and you got infected, and oh, we're sorry, there aren't any antibiotics to save you. In this same presentation that I saw, they rejected my request to present this silver information. I don't know why, but the reason that I have multiple medical degrees is because of common sense, and because I always had a family member who either was septic and I had to use something more than drugs, or I had a brother who has Crohn's disease who they said, we've done everything we can except cut out another section of his intestines. So I'm here to tell you that the people with common sense often have to go through a whole lot of hurt to get there. And then, look at this common sense. Most antibiotics are made from bacteria anyway. Did you know that? That one just, I don't know why that one makes me laugh almost. The strongest creatures measured on the face of the earth are gonorrhea bacteria. I know there's a joke there, but I don't have time for it. It's been measured that they can pull 100,000 times their own body weight. So when we start talking about resistant bacteria, it's because antibiotics made them that way. And they are so strong because they have not died, instead mutated from too much antibiotics. Yet silver can kill. Do you realize a water-soluble silver gel is of the same texture and feeling as KY jelly, a personal lubricant? And yet the silver kills all sexually transmitted diseases. All. Why are we ever going to use KY jelly in recommending to our patients ever again as a personal lubricant? No. Now is the time for silver gel because it kills these very bacteria and all other forms of sexually transmitted diseases. Now, this is a paper, this is the actual letter and my signature on it, and that stands for XDR-TB. That's a photograph of tuberculosis. You realize it's making a comeback because of antibiotics? XDR stands for extremely drug-resistant tuberculosis. Isn't it ironic that because of antibiotics we now have new labels for diseases of old, like extremely drug-resistant? Here's a letter to the CDC for the treatment of tuberculosis. By the way, I received that letter from the Vice President of the United States who's in charge of Homeland Security. And he wrote me, I wrote back, earlier today, I received a request from the Office of the Vice President of the United States of America to send a protocol for extremely drug-resistant TB, tuberculosis, to your office. The active ingredient is a silver liquid which has been shown to kill tuberculosis in vitro, and I attached the study. This protocol utilizes a silver liquid in an inhaled mist. Yes, we put it in a nebulizer and inhale it. And to access the mucus layer of the lungs while concomitantly utilizing an oral dose which will be absorbed into the bloodstream and distributed to the lungs. The in vitro testing of this protocol, which I attached, demonstrates a kill rate of 97.3% in 45 minutes. Now, that's the type of proof the government wants and we're delivering. That's the type of structured silver proof that we're delivering on. This is the type of protocol you're going to be called on in the near future because antibiotics are losing their ability to be potent anymore. This is not the only one. Human papillomavirus. In a trial that I did with another doctor, OBGYN, we took 200 randomly assigned women. In other words, the next 200 women that come into your clinic that have precancerous lesions on their cervix from the virus, human papillomavirus, we're going to put into a randomly assigned study. They had precancerous lesions on their cervix. They were tested with silver. What that means is they took a tampon and applied a daub of gel the size of a nickel, inserted it at night, took it out in the morning, and in 5 days, they were done, complete with the trial. 2 weeks later, we went in and measured, and 200 out of 200 were not only stopped and arrested, but reversed. So when you have women come to you and say, I've been diagnosed as having HPV and I have precancerous lesions. My doctor says I should wait till next year to do anything about it. The woman goes, I'm in stress, I'm panicked, I want to do something about the word cancer. I heard my doctor say cancer. Guess what? You can do something about it. Do something? You can stop it, you can reverse it. Is this published? Yes, even in a book I've got out there. And according to the New England Journal of Medicine, 250,000 people died from iatrogenic causes last year. Iatrogenic means that going to the hospital or being treated by a doctor or medication is the cause of death. Silver had one adverse reaction last year, only 30 adverse reactions in the past 30 years. And who is at the highest risk here? I'm preaching to the choir, I know that, but isn't it interesting that common sense isn't always the medicine applied by government? Silver can help. Approximately 48 different compounds are used to treat virtually every infectious disease known to man in 1940. They were available on the PDR, the physician's desk reference. They were in the JAMA published monographs. They were in the United States Pharmacopoeia. They had names like Albargan, Novargan, Proganol, Silval. And when I testified before Health Canada, and they accused silver of having no science of credible nature behind it, I was fortunate enough to have these with me. And I said, is the USP, United States Pharmacopoeia Review Board, credible? They said, yes, it's the most credible. I produced the study. Is the JAMA monographs? I produced the papers, one right after another. And I want you to know that injectable, IV, all different forms, including oral, are in the physician's desk reference and have been since 1924 under names like this. Used as medicine and preservatives in many cultures throughout history, the history is that silver as a coin purified water or milk. They used it in all kinds of different places. Even in the plague, for 100-year plague, they used silverware, and those who could afford pure silver dishes and silverware suffered much less death rate from the bacterial plague. That's where the cliche was born. She was born with a silver spoon in her mouth because she was rich enough to eat with silverware and prevent the plague. So structuring silver includes using the finest principles of biophysics. It is not just chemistry. We're using the finest conductor of electric and magnetic frequencies with chemical principles, and we're testing all of them. This silver is structured for a reason, and it uses magnetic resonance, electrical frequencies in conjunction with the chemical nature of silver. It's been measured silver to resonate at 910 terahertz. That's the same frequency the germicidal lights resonate at and is a known antimicrobial agent. So people that say, this is magnetic, here's a picture. This is silver with a laser beam being shown right through the silver liquid, and you can see that the particles are equal distant from each other, indicating there must be a suspension of a magnetic force. This is a demonstration of a healthy spin. Each one of those little tornadoes is a silver particle forming a resonant frequency in a crystalline structure. Notice they're equal distant apart. So the electricity causes the spin. The spin produces a tornado-like effect. The magnetism keeps them equal distant apart. And this is a picture of the actual chemical structure, that kite-shaped, almost looks like a cube. It's a tetrahedral design, and it resonates at one end of this particle, of this chemical structure, at a silver 1 charge, while the other point is a silver 3. And electrons pass from one tip to the other tip at the speed of light, resonating back and forth, trying to find a silver 2 charge. And that resonating frequency makes this a semiconductor with a frequency of 910 terahertz, able to destroy, on contact, pathogens. So we're learning more about silver than ever before. We're knowing silver is more valuable than ever before. This is my publication. I went to Africa, and over 4 years, I published in the Indian Practitioner. Why? Because JAMA doesn't really worry too much about malaria here in America, and India is the most biotech advanced nation in the world. I published in their journal, the Indian Practitioner, quote, "No patients suffered any adverse side effects, while malaria was removed in an average of 5 days." So the word cure was allowed, and in addition, in this same study, there were 19 other ailments successfully treated with 2 teaspoons twice a day. Diarrhea, gonorrhea, all different forms of pneumonia. All these different diseases were suffering in children who had malaria because their immune system was down. So when they say there hasn't been science, I refute that. I've published differently, and we have solutions. Malaria looks like that. I'm running out of time here, so I'm going very quickly. There are many different things, but safety-wise, safety, according to the Merck Index, is a metal that does not accumulate. It is non-toxic even at 5,000 milligrams kilogram per body weight. That you'd have to put pounds of it in your body. 90 to 99% leaves the body by the next day. So, in structured silver that's of an alkaline nature, the calculation approved by Health Canada and documented in the trial says it would take 91.3 years to cause damage, in other words, to accumulate and start to turn skin color, if you overdosed every day to 16 ounces, that's an entire bottle, every day for 91.3 years. And by the way, according to the IRIS report, that's the international report on safety, that's if none of it ever left your body. So you'd have 2 tankerfuls of silver in your body before you could ever get it to accumulate. That is safe, that is non-toxic, and it would take a spill of, according to the EPA, 12.5 million gallons to be a reportable spill. Clorox, on the other hand, takes 3 gallons. Here's some help. Single cell walls look like this. You've got E. coli in the oblong shape. You've got staph in the round shape. And when you realize that silver can enter within 1 minute and penetrate those cell membranes, that's why they can kill it. But if you don't have an alkaline silver, the acidic nature of the liquid that it's in causes a shell or a membrane thickening to occur. And if it can't penetrate in the first minute or two, it's not going to. But alkaline silver gives those porins, or the active transport across those membranes, easier access. Probiotics, and this is important, extra coating of self-secreted fat from the probiotic around itself protects them from stomach acids. Silver is water soluble and cannot enter. The photograph on the lower corner is actually a picture of the probiotic. They would not be alive if silver penetrated them, and without that fat coating they would easily. Uses. I love an intranasal sprayer so we can get silver into the sinuses where most sore throats begin. I like the silver rinse of the sinuses for obstruction. I like the inhaled silver liquid because when you put it in an inhaled form, it can go clear down deep into your lungs and cut through biofilms that no drug or spray in a pharmaceutical form can cut through. In a CPAP machine, they're only about a 1 ounce reservoir. Put liquid silver in, undiluted. Put it straight in there and you'll get a mist, a humidity that will be treating your lungs as well. Eye drops. In the one picture on the upper, you can see that this eye drops in the eye, 3, 4, 5. You can literally rinse the eyeball out. Pink eye is resolved in 2 hours. Pink eye is gone in 4. In almost every case. Pink eye is the picture on the lower photograph. The reason it's called pink eye is bacteria is dissolving and consuming the sclera, or white of the eye, resulting in inflamed blood vessels that overall make the eye look pink. I like the OSHA eye rinse cup. It's an oval shot glass. It fits around your eye. I fill it half full, put my eye on it. When it's sealed, I tip my head back, and for 15 seconds, I'm watching what is the equivalent of an aquarium, and my eyeball is the focus of it. Rinses it out so well. Ears, we just need to turn your ear to the ceiling, fill the ear canal, let it stay for about 6 minutes, because it takes a few minutes to get behind the earwax. It does want to get behind the eardrum. It will get behind the eardrum where the ear infection is. The photograph on the one side with duct tape is a promise I said to a woman who sent me this photo. She says, "Tell the world it's my contribution to medicine." Her child had an ear infection for 6 months. She took a cotton ball, soaked it with liquid silver, and duct taped it to her child's ear. where in the morning she took it off, and to her surprise, the child was well. She said, "Tell the world." Well, I'm telling you that probably medical tape is a better choice, but I would suggest that's a very good choice. Pets need silver too. If a cat or dog are scratching their ear, put some silver liquid in there. Should you let your pet lick you? Well, take a look at the upper photograph and tell me, where do dogs put their licking orifice? Anywhere and everywhere. Should you let your pet lick your child? It's been reported in epidemiological studies that children who get 3 times more ear infections than other children have pets in the home. Dogs have 60% more bacteria in their mouth than humans. So, a few liquid drops of silver in the water. Put gel on your hand and greet your pet. Let it lick it right off your hand. But take care of your kids. It's a good thing. On dried, damaged, windburn, or sunburned skin, silver is the finest tool for burns. And you'll see it by prescription use in burn units and in the military. Put gel on your toothbrush and brush your teeth. If you don't like the plain taste, add 50% of it in toothpaste. And if you want to kill the toenail fungus, you can use one of these finger cots filled with gel. Stretch it over for 30 minutes every other day till it grows out. Last study, boy. Yes, this is me. This is where I really get into my work. I figured of all the mice I killed, I had to volunteer to be a guinea pig myself, right? So silver improves wound healing. I'm also a wound care specialist for our military. As such, 7 years of helping in Iraq and Afghanistan with wound care. This is published in the Journal of Anti-Aging Medicine. This photograph is me 1 hour after an injury. I have an irregular cut right across the eye bone. It is not clean. It was jagged. It was irregular. I have a vertical cut on my forehead, both requiring stitches. My eye is swollen shut from the blood flow. The treatment, silver liquid swallowed 2 teaspoons twice a day, and a topical wet nap. So I literally took a paper towel or Kleenex, soaked it in liquid silver, and left it on the wound. I did not have access to gel at the time, so the wet nap sufficed. In your case, gel might be another choice, but this is published, that is not. I want you to have facts. So here we are, 4 times a day. Day 2, my eye is now blacker than it was from the first day. See, this is black only on the top. Here, day 2, I'm black clear down underneath and across to the other eye. My wound looks pretty nasty, and any wound care specialist will say, that's about 3 weeks till that heals. Here I am on day 3. What happened? Already the blue of the blood that's entered the tissue is starting to resolve. Already the wound has stuck together and closed. So on day 3, stitches were taken out. Not on week 2 or week 1, but on day 3. Day 3 barely has enough time for a wound to stick together. Day 5, look at how quickly it's healing. Look at the line, and wounds heal significantly faster due to the less infection from the silver, reduction of inflammation, and activation of stem cells, which get rid of the nasty residue that's in the tissues. Day 7, totally well. Totally well. My attending physician is Colonel Robert Somm, President of Special Operations Medical Association. So I'm a part of the Special Forces Medicine, and I had access to the top doctor in the whole military. And as a wound care specialist, this is his quote. I don't know if you can read it in yellow, but it says, "It healed twice as fast or maybe 3 times faster than any wound like it," and published in the Journal of Anti-Aging Medicine. So is this, can we use this quote? Well, you know what? I took it right out of the study, and I'm using it because this Colonel Somm answers directly to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and we weren't sure if we could use it, but guess what? He's more than happy to share it with us. NASA is on board with us. Final technical report of the University of Wisconsin says silver enters the bloodstream, and then is actively transported into the disease-causing cells. Documenting what I've been speaking about all along. Alkaline silver has access into the bacteria quicker, faster, more. This is MRSA, 6 hours old. She's scared to death. It's flesh-eating bacteria. We applied a bandage and we applied silver gel to this wound. Why the bandage? Well, because we didn't want her spreading it to her 7 little children. In addition, 30 hours after silver liquid, all of the blisters have ruptured, all of them have closed, all of them have stopped growing. 30 hours on MRSA. Senator Hatch was so impressed, he requested silver for Homeland Security. This is his official letter. Air Force Surgeon General Paul K. Carlton requests silver for use against pandemic and infectious diseases that might be taking over. He requested 1 gallon for every person in the country. Director of Integrative Center for Homeland Security requests in his letter, I'd like to bring your attention to a resource that I feel can be utilized in the area of biodefense, from bioterrorism to infectious diseases such as SARS. The antimicrobial has undergone rigorous testing and has been found to kill anthrax, bubonic plague, hospital staff, and SARS. It is the first new antimicrobial for the hospital in many years. The product, silver, is non-toxic to humans, approved for hospital staff, bubonic plague, and currently awaiting Section 18 approval for anthrax, which is prevention. In short, we currently do not have anything with such a wide spectrum of efficacy in our inventory. Nothing, not a drug out there. As such, I recommend that the antimicrobial silver be evaluated for addition to the National Pushback Stockpile. In other words, some for everybody in the case we have an epidemic. If you want to use silver for anti-aging, take a look at my roses. This is a rose after 3.5 weeks. The one is in tap water, the other is in silver. Would you say that's significant? Wait, hold judgment, take a look. Tap water, look at that baby dying, drying up. Mostly it's fungus that's killing and choking off that stem that's turned it that color. While look at that stem 3.5 weeks later. 25 days, that stem's still looking good, but here's the remarkable part. When you strip the leaves off of, or branches off of a rose, which was done here, it's impossible, according to botanists, for that branch that's been torn off to regrow. Yet, we know stem cells are activated in humans. Take a look at all of those leaves that were stripped off. 3.5 weeks later, all of them have new inch-long growth. New growth on a stem that's been clipped and cut and sitting in water with silver in it for 3.5 weeks. I'd call that anti-aging, and since I'm board certified in anti-aging medicine, I think that's pretty good. So let's take a look at psoriasis. Here's a before picture. Here's the gel applied after 2 days of silver wet nap or gel use is the same thing. A lot of this is just very, very quick so that your patients will say, this is working. I know it will work. It's important in that first 3 days to have something visual or something they feel for them to keep going. But I think we've got enough evidence of that. I'm going to stop now because I think I've passed my time. I've got viruses and all these other things, but I'd like to say this. Is there something we can do to change medicine at this convention today? Yes. Is the entire way we deal with infectious and contagious disease in our hands? Yes, and it is, simply put, whenever someone takes an antibiotic, we take what with it? Silver, 2 teaspoons twice a day, and we restore with probiotics. Will that change medicine? Yeah. Is there going to be any petitions of, we've got to quit doing this with antibiotics? Or will people naturally, in the naturopathic way, find their way through common sense medicine? I hope that's my goal. I hope you see This in and of itself will save us from what is projected in 2050 to be the death of us all, meaning any cut, scratch, scrape, or infectious disease will kill us. With that in mind, you have the tools. You can change your life. You can change those around you. And I know it won't take long to do so. And by the way, Jonas Salk was a man who saved the world from the polio with the polio virus problem. Everybody was dying. They were in iron lungs. 35% of the world was dying in some cities. Jonas Salk was my major professor. I was his only graduate student. And he said to me one day, he says, someday you're going to have an opportunity to develop something that could save the world. And when you do, don't let the pharmaceutical companies have it. Do you know he wouldn't let the pharmaceutical companies have his? We're doing the same. Let's go save the world. Thanks, guys. Huh?
So don't forget your wallet.
Oh, you are so kind. Thank you.
I was remembering that for you the whole time.
Boy, did I